If there was one question that defined my 2017, it would be, why Garfield? Of the millions upon millions of interchangeable short panel-based web or newspaper comics, what makes Garfield noteworthy or outstanding? On the surface, Garfield is just a comic about cat ownership, a topic very standard and familiar to the kinds of people who write short panel-based comics for a living. And while it contains various textual, subtextual, metatextual meditations on implicit and explicit themes, so does Shakespeare, so does The Simpsons, so does my preschool finger painting I did of the relationship between me and my family. Dealing with themes and ideas is what literally every piece of creative expression does. It's unavoidable. There have been over 14,000 Garfield comics produced, with a new one coming out every day. That's a lot of witty comments and observations to be made about the life of a lonely cartoonist and his cat. They all come from one man, Jim Davis. But all of that isn't even the most ludicrous part. The most bonkers thing about all of this is that the comic has not changed one bit. It has not gotten better, it has not gotten worse. You could take a comic from 29 years ago and a comic from today, and the only reason you'd be able to tell the difference is because of the design of Garfield. You think after almost 3 decades of doing one thing, you might get better or worse at that thing, but he didn't. Jim Davis has created a multimedia juggernaut out of a webcomic of a fat, lazy orange cat and his self-insert Mary Sue owner, Jon Arbuckle. And the comic is exactly as enjoyable as it sounds. So how? In 2009, a probably fake PDF file which documented the science and research that went into creating the new Pepsi logo gained popularity. The file makes the case that this new Pepsi logo is possibly the single most appealing design possible, and whether or not real, the effort that went into detailing the design's triumphs is pretty compelling. But not as compelling as evidence, not as compelling as facts. Pepsi is a good drink. It is tasty. But what has this new logo accomplished? Nothing. Pepsi is still playing second fiddle to Coca-Cola, and probably won't catch up anytime soon. Garfield is an objectively mediocre comic strip series that has made Jim Davis into one of the most powerful and richest men on Earth. And since the webcomic is mediocre, what is it that has launched Garfield into the cultural stratosphere? What is the one constant across all of Garfield's multimedia triumphs? It has to be the visual and character design of Garfield the Orange Tabby Cat. Hating Mondays, loving lasagna, being orange. Garfield is objectively without retort and based in clear scientific proof the single most pleasing visual and theoretic concept possible. A concept that started in 1978 and is the only thing that has evolved throughout the history of the comic. Jim Davis knows what matters about his magnum opus and has been slowly but surely refining the image and personality of Garfield every day for the past 482 months. This is why the content of the comic has not changed. This is why he hasn't found himself creatively lost for ideas or inspiration. The comic is not the project. The project is Garfield the cat, and the comic is just an excuse to experiment with new iterations based on a concept. That concept is Garfield, and clearly the project is a success.